Welcome to the Sunday morning worship service of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church in Naperville, Illinois for June 16th, 2024. I am Caroline Bailey, a member of your Board of Trustees, at least for another couple weeks. We are glad you are here, whether you are present in the sanctuary with us today or watching remotely. It is so good to be together. We welcome you to our church and invite you to get to know us better during and after today's service. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual and religious journeys while holding ourselves in covenant through our shared 7 principles. The rich liberal legacy of Unitarian Universalism is rooted in those 7 principles. These principles guide our faithful actions as we work to transform the world to be more just and equitable. Although there may be some big changes to our Article 2, our principles are still listed on our website and posted on the wall in our social hall. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, and wherever you are in the world, you are welcome here. I do have 2 announcements regarding our membership. Next week, the 23rd, after the service, we're going to have a meet and greet so that you can get to know various people in our congregation. And the following week, the 30th, we are going to have a potluck right here in Creeves Hall. So if you would like further information, please check our weekly update or talk to Tina, our membership professional. Now, if you are online, I invite you to greet each other through the chat. And if you are present here, I invite you to turn to someone that you did not come with and greet them with a wave and a good morning greeting. Thank you.
Carolyn, do you want me to bring the roller up here?
No, I'm okay.
morning. I have a little poem to share for our chalice lighting today. Why We're Here by Eric Walker Wickstrom. Here today, in this place and with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know. And may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice we light our way. Hello again. Welcome to this place of love, of communal flourishing. We enter this worship space to open our hearts, to expand our minds, and to see the sacred within each other. Today, we will hear from 3 congregants about their spiritual path so far, about the experiences, encounters, decisions, and perhaps even happy accidents that led them to Unitarian Universalism and DUUC. As we listen, may we reflect on our own faith journeys and appreciate the many roads which led each of us here. Come, let us worship together.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing together hymn number 295 in the Great Hymnal. Sing out praises for the journey.
Join me in saying our mission statement, please. We gather as an inclusive community to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and to transform the world toward fairness, love, and compassion. Our vision of beloved community is rooted in the relationships we have with each other, our world, and creation. Each week we share our joys and concerns. The flowers today are from Chris Walton in celebration of a new decade, entering a new decade on June 11th, and half of those years being a member of DUC. Happy birthday, Chris. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways that we can. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds, with all our joys, and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken. Please join together in a moment of meditative silence.
It is time to gather. I want to start with a brief announcement that we have 15 to 20-minute activities for kids and some adults right after the service during the summer. Today we will be experimenting with paper airplanes. So I want to share this brief Buddhist parable with you today. It is about what we have to do when we want to be open to something new. A long time ago, there was living a wise Zen master somewhere deep in the mountains. Many people would come and ask him to teach them. And one day, a professor made the long journey to visit him and ask him for his wisdom. First, the professor introduced himself to the Zen master by mentioning all the academic grades. And then he said, "I have come today to ask you to teach me about Zen. Open my mind to enlightenment." And the tone in his voice was one that is used to getting their own way. And the Zen master smiled and said, "We should discuss this matter over a cup of tea." And when the tea was served, the master poured his visitor a cup. But when the cup was full, he didn't stop pouring. The tea began to spill over the table, but the master kept on pouring. The professor watched the overflow until he could no longer restrain himself. "Enough! You're spilling the tea all over. Can't you see the cup is full?" The master stopped pouring and smiled at his guest. "You are like this cup, so full of your own opinions and speculations, that nothing more can be added. Come back to me when the cup is empty. Come back with an empty mind." So one of the ways to help empty your mind in the Buddhist or Hindu traditions are chanting. And the sound Om is often used to look inward. And you can then bring the beauty of the world into you by chanting the sound of things. Let's do this together. Let's chant Om. Om. How do you think raindrops sound? Blip, blip, blip. Let's chant the sounds of rain. Blip, 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 blip. Maybe something a little harder, the sound of trees. Swish. What is the sound of sadness? Maybe a low hum. Or the sound of happiness. Ha, 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 ha. What is the sound of the universe? Maybe a buzz. Since today we are hearing about spiritual journeys, I want to finish with one other very short parable. A horse suddenly came galloping quickly down the road, and it seemed as though the man had somewhere important to go. Another man who was standing alongside the road shouted, "Where are you going?" And the man on the horse replied, "I don't know, ask the horse." Let's sing to the children.
Giving of our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts we are given by this community. Your contribution supports the programs and operations of DuPage UU Church. Giving is also how we live our values in the world. Each month, we share our offerings with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by the special offering team. During June, our special offering will benefit Youth Outlook of Naperville. Youth Outlook is the first social service agency in Illinois solely dedicated to the support of LGBTQ+ youth, offering drop-in centers for youth, parent support, and community education. Drop-in centers meet weekly and are a social setting for youth ages 12 to 20 to meet other LGBTQ+ young people and talk about a variety of topics that really matter to them. Youth Outlook also provides a support network for parents. Participants can feel safe and supported in an environment that lets them express their feelings and be themselves, as well as have fun and be social. The morning's offering to support the work of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church and Youth Outlook of Naperville is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude.
Be ours a religion, which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love. Theodore Parker, Unitarian minister and reformer. Good morning. For those who don't know me, my name is Bridget Coleman. My first name comes from my mother, the former Sister Mary Bridget. She was a Catholic nun for 13 years. My last name comes from my father, Father George Coleman. Yes, a Catholic priest for more than a decade. I am the child of a nun and a priest. Whenever people find this out about me, I have to clarify right away, there was no scandal. They did not know each other at the time. They lived in different states even. They only met after they both separately had decided that holy life was not the right path for them and left their orders, which I'm glad they did because it allowed me to be born. Growing up, I can remember only one Sunday my entire life that we missed Mass, and that was because the roads to our church were flooded, and after multiple attempts driving different routes, we eventually had to turn back and go home. I still kind of can't believe that my mom gave up before a miracle appeared to get us there. I went to a Catholic college where I met my Catholic husband. We got married in a Catholic church. We baptized our Catholic babies. I never believed all the things I was supposed to believe. But both my mother, who continued to teach theology and morality at a Catholic high school, and my surprisingly feminist, social justice-oriented Catholic college education assured me that was okay. I somehow escaped every single iota of Catholic guilt. Something that has been consistently true about me is that when I think something is BS, I have absolutely no qualms disregarding it. But I started thinking more and more of it was BS. I kept being disappointed that there was no reform in sight, no acknowledgement of harm. I realized not everyone was disregarding as much as I was, and that probably wasn't the right approach anyway. I didn't feel like I could teach my kids pretty much any of it. I still believed in God, but I stopped believing in the church. Around the same time, I moved to Wheaton. As many of you know, churches are everywhere in Wheaton. My kids kept getting invited to Bible camps and Awana and being questioned about their convictions. And ironically, it was those attempts at proselytizing that turned us into Unitarian Universalists. It became pretty clear that our best defense was going to be a good offense. We needed a new church that we actually believed in. We needed a church that would love our kids, no matter who they turned out to be. We needed a church that asked questions instead of pretending to know the answers. We needed a church that focused on community and kindness and diversity and justice and nature and people. So we turned to Google. And we were kind of amazed to learn that that church already existed right down the road. We wound up here. We plugged ourselves right in. Frankly, my kids think it's about time I've been asked to write my credo statement. And the rest is history, thank God.
Thank you, Bridget. This reading is by Naomi King. When we introduce ourselves to another person, we usually extend our hand and summarize ourselves with one word, usually our name. Hello, my name is Kelly. These are the kinds of face-to-face greetings that initiate relationships, that open our hearts and act as a bridge of connection from one person to the next. But there's another kind of one-word naming that goes on in our larger society that burns bridges, locks down relationships, and keeps us from living our promises to each other. These are the words that undermine and attack inherent worth, for these words have one powerful, hurtful message. You are not worthy. You are not human. You are not enough. Most of us need to celebrate life, to feel our inherent worth, to be restored to our dignity, to practice justice, equity, and compassion in human relationships. Most of us yearn to say, "Hello, I am somebody," and to be greeted, "Hello, somebody, welcome. We're glad you're here." Most of us hunger for affirmation and celebration in who we are and in the gifts and blessings we bring to this world. Most of us come here to be greeted as the loving, generous, compassionate people that we are. Each of us offers many blessings to this world in who we are, but sometimes we in our world, even our beloved community, might have a difficult time affirming and seeing these blessings. We all are blessings to this world. Our work of building bridges of connection by finding and naming and affirming those blessings we are is the work of nurturing our spirits and healing our world. Amen.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Gorel. I have been at the UU Church since last November, so not very long, but it kind of feels like I've been here forever. Well, first off, I want to thank Amelia and Kelly for putting this together. But also, so my spiritual upbringing was a little bit like Bridget's because I'm also what you can refer to as a recovering Catholic. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that before. I was baptized Catholic. I went to a Catholic school from 3rd grade through 8th grade. And for the most part, I just kind of took everything without question. Sometimes I would stump my teachers or the priest by asking certain questions like, hey, how did they get the ark back from the Philistines to put it in the Temple of Solomon? Or I would ask the priest like, hey, what part of the Bible do you see the origins of the devil? And like, they would always say, I'll get back to you on that, and they never did. And so it's just like, and they didn't like me because I asked questions. I wasn't very popular among the teachers and the clergy. And then 8th grade comes around, which for Catholics, when you're around 13 or 14, you do confirmation. Who here's taking confirmation classes? Yeah, okay, a lot of people, okay. So I don't know what your experience was, so here was mine. So I go to the class, they hand me a book, and the book essentially says, here's all the people you're supposed to hate, and also your dog doesn't have a soul and is not going to heaven. And so I'm just like, what kind of loving, omnipotent God tells me that my dog is not going to heaven? I found that a little insane. So that's kind of when I started questioning things, right? So fast forward to high school. It's 2012, I'm becoming more politically active. There's a presidential election that year. And I started to become very deep-seated in liberalism. And around that time, I also became a hardcore atheist because my point of view was religion's for right-wingers. I can't be religious. I'm a liberal, which is the dumbest thing. Right? It's just so for a long time I was an atheist because I thought that as a left-leaning person, that's what I was supposed to do. And then I sort of realized that in itself was kind of dogmatic. And so I started to kind of privately explore my spirituality. And a lot of it was still Christian based because I didn't really know of anything else. And then one day, I went to a UU church in Elgin. A friend of mine who I was in a band with, his girlfriend is the music director at the UU church in Elgin. So I went there, and I'm like, wow, this is different. And then COVID happened, and I never went again. But like, you know, and then fast forward again. Like, I've been with Amelia for a couple years. We were engaged, and we were talking about possibly finding a church, possibly finding some sort of community that we can raise our kids in. Am I right there? Yeah, right? Okay, right, in the future. Like, we're not, there are no kids on the immediate horizon. But like, the idea, that's the idea though. Like, you know, we wanted a community that we could raise our kids in. And we had just moved to Lisle. We're both from Elgin. And we were looking for a restaurant on Google Maps, and I saw the UU Church on Google Maps. That's how we found this place. And so I'm just like, hey, let's go here. And then, like, you know, the rest is history there. I think I got like a couple more minutes. Yeah, okay. So like, yeah, and then, you know, as I've been here more and I've learned about other types of spirituality, it's kind of informed my own. And like, and now I feel a little more like, it's more like nature-based. I don't know if it's necessarily pagan, but like, I feel like spiritually connected to nature. And it really came out the other day, or last week rather, when I was watching a documentary on fungi. And I just sort of realized that like, on both a spiritual level and a scientific level, I found it very existentially comforting, because I knew what was going to happen to me when I died, right? If I have a spirit, that'll do what it's going to do. I can't control that. But my body will return to the earth, and the law of conservation of energy will continue its cycle. And I just found a lot of existential comfort in that. And that's kind of where I am now. So I will kindly get off the stage now, and thank you for your time.
And now rise again, please, in body or in spirit, and join us in hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Good morning. Good morning. Everybody has to say good morning. It just, you know, it feels so good to get that response. My name is Kathy Neff, and my pronouns are she, her. Today I'm wearing a black and blue sleeveless top, and I wear glasses, and I have gray hair. I live here in Naperville, and I've been a member of DUC for about 1.5 years. And before we, you know, as we were preparing this morning, Bridget told me she was going to be a hard act to follow. And she was right. It's really tough. And Chris didn't tell me, but he's a hard act to follow too. So part of me wants to just like throw this out and ad lib, but I'm not going to. So, you know, like many of you perhaps who've ended up as UUs, I would characterize my spiritual journey thus far as the long and winding road. So I'd like to share a little bit about that journey with you today and how it continues to unfold. So when I was in grade school, from the age of 4, my family lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And my mom was kind of the religious instigator in the family. She and my dad started attending church when my sister and I came along. And, you know, in Pittsburgh, we went to an Evangelical United Brethren church. And honestly, I don't remember much about that theology that was taught there, but I do remember, okay, this is not a Catholic story, but it's similar. When I was 9, going to summer camp, and they convinced me of my guilt. And so on the last night at camp, I bowed my head and I raised my hand and I invited Jesus into my life. So I got saved. And over the next few years, we moved back to California where I was born. And through junior high, we attended more conservative Baptist churches. And altar calls were just a regular happening there. And I guess I was still feeling guilty because I would go forward. You know, when I was first saved, I just raised my hand, but I'd never gone forward. So I would go forward and, you know, ask the Lord into my heart again. But through high school, we moved to Wheaton, went to a little less conservative Baptist church, and I took my faith seriously. The teachings of Jesus really resonated with me. Then in college, I went to U of I. I was involved in a college Christian group, U of I, and I spent a couple summers. One summer I went to San Diego to do beach evangelism. I was one of those people trying to, you know, convert people. And I went to Poland for a summer to do some teaching. And I also considered doing missionary work as I was getting out of college. But what really threw a wrench into everything happened right after college when I started having to deal with my sexuality. And I had to come to grips of, I was having a relationship with a woman. She happens to be sitting right here. And those were very tumultuous years because of my religious upbringing. And I could not reconcile my actions with my faith. And so over a period of many years and many relationships, my faith had to shift because I was, you know, who I was. And I did a ton of reading then. I was seeing a psychologist. I read a lot of Jungian psychology. I was reading a lot of feminist theology. And all of that shifted my thinking over time. And after it took me 7 or 8 years, but I finally had it and I left the church. I was going to College Church in Wheaton. And then it took a full 12 years for me to come out, finally. And that was such a relief because the guilt, the load had been lifted. But there were times also when I felt like there was something missing. And so after another several years, I did some exploring around New Age thinking, and for a while I attended Unity Church in Chicago, not to be confused with Unity Temple, this was Unity Church. And then I moved to San Antonio and I attended another Unity Church there. And that still retained the message of Jesus, but without the condemnation. So that was a good kind of a bridge for me to experience a more open and accepting faith, but after a few years I stopped attending. And then, fast forward a little bit longer, something wonderful happened. After 26 years, I reconnected with Suzanne, my wife now, and by then she had 3 kids. They were 10, 12, and 18. And so the first years that we were together were focused on raising the kids, and I was also working hard in my career. And somewhere along the line, we'd heard about DUC, and we knew somehow we knew that's where we needed to go. And once, like 6 or 7 years ago, we came to a service. It was right before moving into the summer break. So the schedule was shifting around, and we told ourselves that we'd come back. But then time went by, and as I got closer to retirement, we committed ourselves to returning to church when we had freer weekends, and we wanted to come back here. So, well, in 2022, I retired, okay, so 2 years ago, and what finally prodded us to come here were 2 things. First, we were going through a very challenging time personally in our lives, and we felt the need for support and community. And the second and really important thing, too, was that our daughter, Wednesday, she was the one who prompted us to finally start coming. And we came in December of 2022, right before Christmas. And we felt immediately connected and at home here. The thing that resonated with me the most, besides Reverend Mandy's messages, were the 7 principles posted on the wall in Creeps Hall, just reading those. And when I read them, I felt like I could belong. This is a place where I could be. And beyond that, the people were, all of you were very welcoming and friendly. And the more we heard and saw, the more we knew that we wanted this to be our spiritual home. So we became members the next month. As Suzanne says, we're not getting any younger. I said, don't we want to wait a little longer, kind of check it out? She's like, no, we're not getting any younger. So what journey am I on now, spiritually? Well, I can say that my early years in the church gave me a foundation that I still carry. Even though I don't believe the same things about God and salvation, I'm thankful for that foundation because it helped me to know that at my core, every individual has worth and dignity. We're all rowing in the boat together. When we pitch somebody out of the boat, we're not going any faster. We're all rowing together. And so I think what matters most is how you treat people. That's kind of the bottom line for me. And I'm only beginning my journey here. I feel like in some ways I'm kind of picking up where I left off when I left the evangelical church all those years ago, feeling the desire to learn, to explore what faith is, and how I will live that in the world. And one of the things I love the most about being a UU is that it's action-oriented and it's justice-oriented. So we talk about transforming ourselves and the world. And that's new for me, really. I have a lot to learn about myself and who I can be in the world to help it transform. Growing up in the evangelical church, one of the outworkings, the actions of our faith was to evangelize. And I look forward to figuring out, I'm on the road, to figuring out what that outworking looks like for me here now. And it means exercising new muscles. For me, it's great as I look around, and I've gotten to know so many of you over the past year and a half. It's great to be surrounded by people who are doing that and committed to that same vision of transforming ourselves and the world one step at a time. Thanks.
And one more time, please rise, come in body or in spirit, and join in singing together hymn number 311 in the Brigham Hall, Let It Be a Dance.
Our benediction is by Eric Walker Wickstrom. If you are who you were, if the person next to you is who or she was, if none of us has changed since the day we came in here, we have failed. The purpose of this community, of any church, temple, zendo, mosque, is to help its people grow. We do this through encounters with the unknown, in ourselves, in one another, in the other, whoever that might be for us, however hard that might be. Because these encounters have many gifts to offer. So may you go forth from here this morning, not who you were, but who you could be. So may we all.
Alrighty, before we extinguish the chalice, I'd love to thank Larry for being such a wonderful pianist. And of course, I'd love to thank our speakers, Bridget, Chris, and Kathy. Please join me in reading our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts. Until we meet again, may the warmth of our community carry you.